see she's back with us.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. Zoom's kicked me out now 3 times. I tried totally leaving the meeting and logging back in, but good thing that Barb and Barbara are both here to make sure we keep moving right along for today, in case, fingers crossed, I don't get kicked out for a 4th time. My goodness. But yep, Barb's starting us off. Oh my gosh, welcome you guys. It's almost the 4th of July, last day of June. Lots going on. Would you believe we also have a special birthday in the room today? I'm not sure if she's logged in yet or not, but I think it's Renee's birthday today. So I just want to, so let her know that we're thinking of her in that way. Happy birthday, Renee. If you're not here yet, we'll do it again in a minute. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to kind of take all the learning that we've done over the last 3 virtual courses and kind of pull them together and really think about how you want to use that moving forward as you start with your pilot groups. Really excited. We have so much going on over the next few months. My goodness. And a lot of celebrations, because there's just a lot to celebrate over all the fantastic work, the hard work, the loving work that you guys have been doing over the last few months. It's kind of crazy when you think about we've been doing this together since February and it's now almost July. My gosh, this has been quite a run. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Barb, who's going to give us some contextualizing that I think will be a really nice frame for our thinking today. Did I freeze again?
Community library where your work can be published and you can access other published things. The resources has resources that are available to everyone, but then with your license, your co-certification license, and then your pilot groups, because they'll have teacher learning kit licenses, they have this site lead implementation toolkit. It's content that's unlocked and viewable if you have a license. You've got your quality assurance system through the reviews. You have the analytics, and you have a coach place where you're going to be able to do some management of your groups. So in one seamless dashboard, you really have this total system that we've been building over the last few years. When we think about how LDC has evolved, what the Gates Foundation really asked us to do was to think about how we could continue to provide free resources, create a credentialing system around quality, and begin to stick a pin in innovation. And then along with that comes literally, we charge subscriptions for licenses to help cover the costs of the work so that we can keep the free stuff free. So that's kind of how LDC has evolved. For those of you, when I think about Kelly Stidham, Kelly Philbeck, and Wayne, who've been involved in this such a long time, that's kind of how the work has evolved conceptually into what we have today. This idea that we've got to get quality at scale in a way that is really innovative, that is competency-based and is about authentic work. So what you've been experiencing and what we're offering as part of this mission is a teacher learning kit and coach certification are the 2 main things that you've been, in a way, experiencing. The teacher learning kit is comprised of a few things. And I love this quote from a practitioner that talks about how having the course content side by side with work and having it always there really changes the ability and confidence around assignment design. But the teacher learning kit is the 1-year license. And what that does is provides multiple things. The site toolkit, the implementation resources, the online courses, of which there are several. It's the analytics. It's some prepaid seats to go to peer review. And it's discounts to go to institutes, as well as free virtual meetings, like the quarterly principals and leaders meetings that will occur in 2017-18, or the quarterly coach meetings. So that's all included. So it's more than, Teacher Learning Kit can be a little bit of a clunky name, but it's more than courses. It's this idea that it's a learning system. So that's the Teacher Learning Kit. You've been using pieces of the Teacher Learning Kit in your coach certification process. The Teacher Learning Kit is really what you all have some spots for to pilot with schools. Coach certification, on the other hand, is a deeper, more intense experience that results in everybody being badged and credentialed as national LDC coaches. With that, besides getting the Teacher Learning Kit and all of the resources, you've participated in, or will, peer review and are becoming trained peer reviewers. You all were thinking that they need to replicate the same exact experience that we've been having with classroom teachers. And what you would be doing is a much less intense version that really fits your problems of practice and your needs. So when we think about the Teacher Learning Kit, your sites that you're working with, your schools, are going to be using level 1 courses, and you'll decide which one or which combination. You, as a coach, have access to level 1 and level 2. When we started in February and March, we were using the level 2 courses. There are deep dive courses for coaches. Now that the level 1, the lighter courses are available and became available in June, we've been working in those, and you've been seeing the coach panel and how they really map onto a lesson study cycle, and that they're much lighter. So I wanted to just kind of differentiate between the two of those for you. You'll have the slides, as always, from this presentation. I also wanted to provide a compare and contrast for you between the level 1, which we've been doing this past month, and the level 2, which you started with, in terms of time frame. When we think about the level 1 courses, they're really designed that you could be doing them live, like we're doing this virtually. You could be facilitating sections virtually with a little bit of homework. Or you could be using, if a school has common planning time, you could be doing that live in a PLC with teachers. It really helps you. I will say, we see school districts where it takes an hour and a half to get across the school district, and let's just face it, teachers are working really hard. We don't have time to drive around after school for PD. And I want you to have time to be able to dig into this treasure trove of resources over the summer to think about what you want to do with your pilot based on where your district is or where the schools are. So Section 3 really helps you think about the courses in terms of providing some blueprints. One document that I use is package examples. Each row gives me an idea of, hey, am I going to have no in-person days, but I have weekly PLCs all year long? Well, if I have that, here's what I might do to use the design assignments course over the course of the year. That's the first row. Hey, what if I have a one-day summer kickoff? I might do, what might I do with that? And we've done this several times where, in the summer, we do the first couple sessions in a live session and get people comfortable with technology, get them working, using the discussion questions face-to-face, and then continue with virtual PLCs. So what you have here are combinations or configurations of how you could think about how much blended versus how much face-to-face. And that could give you a roadmap for the design or the common assignments course. So that's a decision point or a place for you to think. The other place to think a little bit in that section 3 in the Site Lead Toolkit, where all of the documents exist. The one that I just showed you is LDC, PDC, PDD packages. You can see year to glance and some other documents. There's a table of contents for each course as well as a crosswalk. And if I just pull up the crosswalk, I would just say to you, as you think about where your schools are, you might use the Find and Teach course for new teacher induction, or to give people a light experience in taking an existing module, perhaps one created by this group. You really have created the beginnings of, you'll be able to see color-coded the key content or skills that teachers are developing. And when you think about the Common Course, that is really meant for groups, almost like a common assignment system lens, for groups of people to take and mindfully select a module that meets their needs, adapt it further, go out and teach it. It's really heavy on the metacognitive conversations, less on the design. So just in a nutshell, what we wanted to do was get you thinking about, from a really big picture lens, here's what LDC is offering. You've been using the Teacher Learning Kit and Coach certification, but Coach certification is a much deeper experience than you will engage your sites in. You have that extra layer of training and skills. As you progress in this year, through the summer, you're going to be thinking about which course or courses you might want to use with your pilot and why. You're wanting to think a little bit about how much time do you have to dedicate to this work and what's a good configuration based on the district's schedule and your goals. So there's just a couple of the really big picture things we want to be thinking about over the next month or two. Now I've talked to Blue Streak and I'm going to stop, pass it back to Kimba, and I have not been able to see the chat, so I do want to open it up for questions or comments. And Kimba, you're there, right?
Yes, I am here. Any thoughts or reactions to what you just saw? Thinking about the site implementation toolkit a little bit differently each time, going a little bit deeper as we look at it and kind of really firm it up in your minds as a resource that can support you over your work moving forward. Other than the dog, we're kind of quiet this morning. He had something, or she had something to offer. All right. Well,
lots of feeding.
Oh, good. I noticed Kelly Stidham's comment in there on the chat, and I think in addition to how you can use it as an administrator to really build your teachers in the way that Jeanette's talking about, to Kelly's point, you can then use it to help support your administration, right? Like you could be helping them with that, or they could be accessing it themselves. And so there's a couple different directions of how you can leverage it in your conversations with others. So excellent. I want to also reframe and position for you guys just a little bit how to use some of the other resources within the courses to support you. Specifically looking at those coaching for impact and facilitation tips to really create a coaching cycle of moves for before, during, and after each session, and thinking about how to use it in that way. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time to explore how the course is set up at these critical moments, to help you, support you in the design process. And so to think about it from that lens, because I know we've looked at them a number of times, thought about the facilitation tips and some of those different pieces. However, I want you to think of it as a cycle and how to use that to support your own growth as a coach. Because do you remember back in the beginning, and now that I'm thinking about it as it pops in my head, I wish I would have pulled up the slide, but the process is backwards designed. So just like Jeanette's talking about how to really feed and grow your teachers, how are you feeding and growing yourself as a coach? How are you watching your competencies to build yourself up and make sure that you're doing the right moves and moving forward in that regard as well? And so this is just a resource that you could possibly use to help you think about yourself as a coach. And so I'm going to share my screen. And full disclosure, want to keep in this fall. And I want you to think about these tips in relationship to how you might use them in September or October as opposed to maybe later in the year. And so I'm going to go to session 4 and click on that, because session 4 is a really good spot because it's where you're picking your focus standards and your template. It's a really key moment in the design process that's going to be important for you to support your teachers in moving through, right? When we think about our own task design process, that was a sticky point, right? We had to be really clear and understand our focus cluster because all the decisions that we make in the rest of our design process rest upon the decisions there, right? And so really understanding why we're making those decisions and supporting each other is going to be important. And so I'm going to look at this, and at the end of session 4 is going to be that first opportunity to really use data and the analytics to support you in your support of teachers. And so if I scroll down to the bottom of session 4, and I'm sorry to scroll so fast and get you a little bit dizzy, I have my coaching for impact tips. So if I'm thinking of my coaching cycle, I just finished session 4. I'm going to be taking my teachers into session 5 next and filling out the rest of their tasks. And so I need to think before I go into session 5, what are those really important moments within session 4, these areas that I need to be checking on with my teachers. And so I have a guide to help remind me of what it is I really want to make sure that I'm communicating with them between session 4 and between session 5. Or if you want to think of it as the process between deciding your focus standards and your template and filling out the rest of your task. What are some of those conversations that I want to have to make sure I'm pushing them forward in the right way? And so I'm going to go ahead and look at the feedback chart, because these are the things I'm watching for. I'm looking to see that their course module is linked. The collaboration settings have been set, right? I can make sure they're completing their exercises, looking at their progress, right? But what is the feedback that I want to give? And so I'm going to click on this. Some really important ones too are this R, RI, and R10, right? If those are the only reading standards that they selected, what do I want to say to push them forward and make their module even stronger? And so I have this just plug and play language that I can use to guide my feedback to make sure I'm calling out the most important pieces at that step in the design process. So I would give some feedback around this point before session 4. And then what I'll do is I'll move on to session 5. And in order to prepare, I'm going to be thinking about what are my facilitation moves within session 5. This is my during part of the session. What do I want to focus on to make sure that I am pulling out some of the most important key pieces within this session? And so that's where these active facilitation tips come in. And I can make a plan for how I want to use my time. Is there things that I want them to do as pre-work? Are we going to do it all together? And so there's a lot of different ideas to really think about. And so maybe for this, I might want to call out some of these things, slow it down a little bit, do a turn and talk. Because if I'm going to have them fill out their other blanks when we're not together for the most part, Well, then I want to spend a lot of time making sure they have a strong foundation before they go off on their own so they don't feel lost or confused. And so this will really help you with that during part of your coach design. And then again, just like we had the before, when I'm finalizing my whole coaching cycle and thinking about those moves in a before, during, and after structure, I'm going to go back at the end of this and really think about, what am I looking for right now? At this point, they should have feedback. I should be able to see within my analytics that I'm giving them feedback, they're making changes, I'm giving them feedback, and there's not these big gaps between their work and my response to their work. So I'm being more responsive to their needs. I'm looking to make sure that they're moving through. And again, I'm going to have this chart to really think about, what am I looking for? I'm really looking for here at this point the alignment of the task against the template, the standards, and information in the content blanks, right? Making sure that you're operating in that cycle that's most supportive for your teachers. And so with that, I'm gonna stop there, hold there for just a second. And so I just want you to chat kind of briefly about this cycle. I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to have everyone just post in the chat as far as what you're seeing. But what did you notice or resonated with you when you're thinking about this as a coaching cycle and how to use the resources to support you as a coach? So I'm going to put those questions in the chat, but take just a couple of minutes. And everybody write your reactions and your thinking in the chat as far as, how do I use this as a coach, this cycle? There's checks in there for me in the analytics to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. There's checks in there to make sure I'm supporting my teachers and doing what they need to be doing. So we're all moving forward. So I'm going to put those in there. Go ahead and write your response in the chat. Thanks, Barb. Okay, so Mike, as far as the pathway, they're in the right-hand toolbar at the bottom of every session. When there's something really worthwhile to click on, there'll be a chart, and has a little link that says here. And if you click on that blue link, it'll take you right to that chart. And I try to point those.
Real quickly, could you just
go ahead.
Coaching for Impact icon and just show that again?
Yep, I'm working on it. This computer's a little slower.
I should have done that. I'm sorry, but yeah, if you back out, as Kimba is getting back there, one thing you guys should notice is every session has a Coaching for Impact icon, and that's where you may find a chart. What we did was use the blueprint that I showed you guys earlier, and mapped the coach supports against the blueprint and against the data, so that we want coaches to get into a routine every week. It's like your prep, your pregame of check the data really quickly, and at important moments, the charts are provided so that you could lean in, notice certain patterns. There aren't charts for every session, just for the ones, there's there for about at least half the sessions, but especially where there's real key work happening that you need to offer guidance on. Because we know it's not realistic, if you're working with 50 plus people, to comment every session, but you do want to check the data every session.
Yeah, and if you'll notice, it's almost always aligned somewhere near the exit slip and the reflection and discussion at the end of each course, because again, it's that check in between. What are you going to do as a coach as a follow-up to this and prior to the next session? And so I just want to point this out again. Throughout the course, there's a lot of links that are just little blue spots, and they're really subtle and important. So it could be easy to miss this, and so that's why it's powerful to point it out, so you can see that there's a link here that'll take you right to that.
I have one principal, and she's new, and she's very concerned about how do I hold my teachers accountable and know that they're actually doing the work. So I brought her right to document 4, keeping the work on track, and showed her all of the different tips that we have in here, especially data analytics, where she can, on her laptop, actually go in and see which of her teachers are looking at modules, creating modules, uploading student work. So I think it's just a great resource for you to lead people towards in order to answer their questions and show them what we have available. So today we're going to take a dive into the different documents in this implementation toolkit. So what I'd like you to do is think about like which type of administrators are you going to be working with? Experienced ones, new ones, or are you mostly working with people in the central office? And what we're going to have everyone do is go into breakout rooms, just like we did last week for one of those categories. So let me go ahead and pop them into chat. So what we'd like everyone to do now is in chat, choose one of these groups of people that you'll be working with next year. Just choose one and pop it into chat, and then Kimba will put us all into breakout rooms so we can look at certain documents and then have conversations around them. So I see Cindy just picked new principals. Great. So everyone else, just pop in. Do you want to have an opportunity to talk about principals who are experienced, new principals, or someone from the central office? With new principals, so we'll be taking a look at these 2 documents, setting up the work for success, T4, and keeping the work on track. So if you'd like to go ahead and go into them, you can. And then Barb will be working with folks that are interested in the central office. Barb, which documents would you like people to go into?
We're going to start with 1, and so if we could start there.
Okay.
Into that.
Go ahead. And then Kimba will be working with everyone who works with experienced principals. So I'm just going to give her a moment to get settled.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we're in our different rooms, we'll go ahead and look at the documents that our facilitator will be using and think about what resonates with us from these documents, and then what do we wonder about using them with administrators.
I think I got almost everybody in. Give me just a quick second.
Sure.
And I'll be ready. Okay. Kate, where is yours on here? Central. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. I'm trying to find people on the list. Hey, Jamie, will you post yours again really fast? Oh, I found you just now. As soon as I said that. Sorry about that, Jamie. Okay. And then all right, I'm going to be moving you into your groups now. Give me just a second. Last button. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move you into groups. Remember how when we did it last week, you saw the prompt, and then you'll be in your groups. Barb will be in one, Barbara will be another, I'll be in the third, and call you back in about, oh, I don't know, about 10 minutes, just shy of 10 minutes. You can go ahead and click the join breakout room and get the.
I really like the idea. I like the idea of looking at the competencies and saying, you know, which of these areas would you want your teachers to grow? Especially if you can pinpoint a specific content area, because like this year with in Kentucky with the next generation science standards coming out, that obviously would be a place where they're going to have growth based on getting to know their standards and that sort of thing. So the teacher competencies right now for everyone across the board are going to be lower than what they would have been 2 years ago when we weren't implementing the standards. So it's almost like that group is going to be on a more level playing field with one another than before. So I like that idea.
Well, and what's nice too is that you can start with this front page and you could take all this LDC stuff off, right? And just have this chart and the competencies, right? And have a conversation about what do you care about? And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Oh, I guess it's on a different form. Let me open it up. So when you go to this, how to use this online toolkit, how Barb was talking about some of the different pieces, this beginning your implementation workbook. This workbook's really great because it could help you frame those conversations. And so you start with what matters with you. Okay. So sorry. So if I'm here, how to use this online toolkit, I just look for the word workbook because this whole part just throws me off sometimes. But this workbook is great because it has the overarching plan. And so if I can get it to decide to finish loading so I can scroll. So here you have this nice big chart of those.
The same thing that was small.
Yep. And then here's where you could take it to really outline what your goals are. Sorry, I over scrolled because it was going so slow. I'm one of those, like sits there and hits the key like 5 times when I feel like it's not cooperating. But then you can map this out about how here's our target goal. I'm going to write that piece from the problem of practice. Here's where it aligns to the competencies so they can see all the intersections that lie between these pieces. Here you could then even align that competency to the Danielson framework. And we have there's crosswalks within this resource that could just support you with that. And then you think about what is this alignment to those school growth targets, right? When you think about what those overarching goals are. And then they see the connection all on one page. And you can see in this example, this New York schools example, about, man, as a teacher, when I'm thinking about what is our shared vision, what are our goals, to see how everything works together so it doesn't feel like an add-on could be really powerful, right? So take a second and just scroll through this document and just see if there's anything else that's called out to you. I think we're going to have about 2 more minutes. I'm going to put a message, broadcast a message, probably about another minute or so. I'm looking at the time now. I got so involved in our conversation, I didn't pay attention to the time.
I would say one thing I noticed about this is that it's the way to do LDC right and not necessarily even needing all the paid stuff as if we've got this sort of process. And that was one of the conversations I've had with my administrators is how do we balance our resources and our needs with what we're able to accomplish with LDC and with what's already there, and then what does the extra implementation kit and all that bring to it, and how can we work with that. So I think this is a good place to start looking at how do we use LDC and do it right, and what are the pieces beyond what's already in core tools do we need in order to accomplish that.
Definitely. And I think the courses and all those pieces can be those ongoing supports, especially if you're in a large geographic area. But man, you print this and you have that gold right in your hand, right? How to, I think you'll find, okay, try to get this to work. I think you'll find this number 3 bar and remembering to open those up is going to be really powerful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and return to the main session because I'm a little slow in this today. But thanks, ladies.
Thanks.
All right. Whoa, that's what it was. I'm having issues. Whew. Okay, it's because I have 2 computers going, so I can keep recording and manage the breakout rooms while I'm still trying to be a participant with my darn Zoom troubles today. How are your breakout room discussions? Pretty good. I see some nodding. Any key takeaways for you from those? Hi, welcome back, you guys. We're just starting to share out any key takeaways from your breakout room discussions. As people are getting adjusted back in, I'm gonna share my screen really quick because I want to talk to you. Actually, hey Barb, do you want to share your screen? Might go a little faster.
Yes, and I'm pulling up the analytics as we speak.
Interacting with these materials. So, really quick, I want to have a little bit of celebration. Woohoo! The cork's off. We have just a few minutes left today, and man, this journey, there's a lot to celebrate. So congratulations, everyone. We now have in the Kentucky collection 25 rated modules, good to go and exemplary. We have tons and tons of badges. So far, as a cohort, you guys have earned 38 badges. And that's really powerful because the thing is, the badges are more than just a little badge. It's evidence of your hard work. It's evidence of your successful demonstration and understanding of the competencies, because it is a criterion, a competency-based system. And so credentialing there's a lot to be said when you earn a badge. And so I think it's really exciting. I know how hard you guys have been working, and it's been just such a joy to work with you through this step of our journey. I'm really excited to think about implementations this fall and how we can help to meet your needs and support you in your work as coaches. And so Barb's taking us to the collection. Look at that, 25 modules. In the collection as a whole, there's 29 mini tasks, and I know this is just going to keep growing from this cohort as well as how it keeps moving forward from here. And I know Barb had a couple of asks from you for today and wants to show you a couple of things, so I'll shut up, but man, it's just so exciting. This work has been really great, and so thank you guys.
We did really want to take a moment and celebrate with you, because what I get so excited about is equity for teachers and for kids, and so the Kentucky Department of Education collection had some mini tasks and modules already in it that have been around for a while. Sherry McPherson's, the good line item veto. And what we've done is added all of the new coach tasks and ladders that have been rated to it. And then as the ladders come back, as we polish our ladders, we'll keep updating this, all right, throughout the summer and into the fall. But we wanted to, especially since summer is such a busy time, as we've worked very hard and still have a little bit of work to do yet as we're calibrating and polishing ladders, I just wanted you to really just, as Kimba said, step back, be able to see this. This updates daily. So you want to get out there and share these things. The neat thing is, if you're thinking about using the Common Assignments course with people, what a powerful base to build off of. Why not one of these modules? And why not, again, add and design more to it? As we wrap, I want to give you a couple of reminders. This is our last official coach professional development. Next Friday, there will be a webinar that will be recorded. From now, into the next year, our goal is to support you collectively and individually, one, in finishing off your coach certification. And our target is that everybody will be finished by that fall conference, so we can do a really big to-do. you'll be starting your pilots. So just a couple reminders. Expect to hear from us, click on our emails. You should be submitting your module, your ladder, if it needs to be resubmitted, either June 30th or July 21st. If you're submitting June 30th, if you could send Kimba a private chat so we know to expect it, like, you're going to get it from me today, that would be great. Next Friday, we're going to do the nitty-gritty of, hey, how do I gave a couple names, or I know that I've got 10 pilot licenses. How do I get started? Next Friday, we're going to have a webinar, and it'll be recorded. We'll show you at a nitty-gritty level how you get your group set up, the power you have as a coach to invite people, and how you work some of that. We also will be starting every 3 weeks, and you tell us if you need more than just a reminder of the supports available. And again, as you're calibrating, a number of you are just zooming through calibration. Wayne, Kate, Kelly, Stacy, if you have any insights to offer or tips, please put them in the chat. And also, if you just want somebody to talk to as you're doing that, we're also happy to do that. So we want to, again, no more coffee on Friday mornings. We'll miss you, but we also know we all need a little bit of a break. We want to support you as you continue to progress through your badges and think about your implementation. And see y'all soon. All right, so that was fast.
Yep, fast and furious. You guys, thank you so much. And thanks for staying just a few minutes over today. I want to have one final whip. Go ahead and throw something in the chat. It's been great. Thank you guys. I look forward to seeing you either in Nashville or in Kentucky and continuing our work together. So thank you guys. Everyone.
Ladies, I'm going to ask a quick question before you go. I put it in the chat. I noticed that a module I worked on was listed in a Kentucky collection. I've updated it a number of times and made it, I think, better. Do I need to contact somebody every time I make a change to it in order to make sure the latest and greatest is the one that's being shared, or does it automatically, update to the...
Yeah, it's a locked version from whenever it was rated, and so you might want to why don't you just resubmit it with this opening?
Okay.
So go to your latest version, and that way you have
list necessarily.
That module is a static picture,
Right.
because once it's out there, it needs to be locked. Your live one, you keep keep working on. So I would, if it's minor changes, Nicole would just would just take that copy and do it. If you think it's like a major where you'd like it re-reviewed,
Sure.
then you submit. But we appreciate that too, because that's what we want, and we want these things to be living over time.
If I submit mine today, will they make more comments if it needs to be revised before July?
By July 21st?
Yes, if I submit it today, will I get another review if it needs revision?
Yes, you'll get another review if it needs revisited.
Okay.
I'm not sure Kimba, if you've established that actual date.
You'll get another review. I'm not sure if you'll get it in time for the July 21st, right? 21st deadline. Was that the date?
But we'll work
just because that's a really tight turnaround. But if when you get feedback, you find that there's some more revision that you want to do, then like Barb said, we'll definitely work with you and figure out what we can do to support you there. But it's a little tight for our reviewers to try to get it done that quick, especially this many. So you may not have that review in time for the 21st submission.
Okay.
That was my question too. I'm sure that you guys are just as slammed on your end as we are on our end trying to, make these revisions. So I made some revisions and Nicole said, yeah, if you do it, just send me an email and then I'll make comments before you officially resubmit.
Oh, do that. Yeah.
And I did, and I think she just hasn't had time because there aren't any comments on there, which no judgment, like she slammed. So
we all are critical friends of each other. We hold each other accountable, and there's nothing wrong either. Like, honestly, with saying, "Hey, where's my feedback?" Because we are all working as fast as we can, but committed to when you guys get that level of review.
I have another question for you. When I'm looking at my library, I forgot where I can go and find the version of my module that was actually reviewed.
If it's not under my library, it should be under shared with me. But I thought it would be just under my library. But that's the option that I can think of. And it'll be the one that has the star next to your task showing that it's rated. But I'm trying to remember if it falls under shared with me or my library. But that little toggle place.
The way that I keep on getting back through it is the link that they have in the email that came to us.
Yes, that's by far the easy. Like, I've just saved those emails, Mike, because now that we have a couple different, cycles of review, it's totally confusing. So I just keep those emails in a separate place, and then if I want to remember what they said about that thing, then I go back to that email. Trying to find it on LDC or on Core Tools is just way too confusing for me.
Right. Well, yeah, I knew I could do that, but I was just, I guess, using it as an opportunity to make sure I could navigate Core Tools because it's in there somewhere. I just in my library I don't.
I also couldn't find a mini task that I wrote, and it's in my module. I invented this mini task. It's in my module, and yet I swear it's not in my library. So I just I copied it out of my. I copied it out of my module into my library, and it's funny. It says like Kate Grindon, adapted from Kate Grindon. Like, okay, whatever.
Well, and Kate, that's because when you put a mini task in your module, it doesn't automatically go as a separate item into your library unless you copy it out to your library. And so that's why you couldn't find it. So you actually had to do that step, even though it seems so silly. It's like adapted from whatever.
Right.
But so any of the mini tasks that you've created in your module, I